Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be making this lace dress with ruffles. My fabric is folded into two in form of this funnel shape. This is the normal way to fold a flayed dress. I held the sharp edge of the fabric and I folded it over. That is why the shape is like this. It's folded into two because I'll be cutting the front separately from the back. From the top of the fabric, I'm going to be marking 10 inches. So I placed my tape at the top. Then I'm going to be moving it at the down part, but I'm not going to be moving it at the top so I can get an accurate measurement. So the 10 inches is going to be my shoulder line. I'm marking 10 inches because my shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8 inches. When I mark the 10 inches, my shoulder line will be able to fit into it. So I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches on that line. Then I'm going to be coming down by 8 inches as my round armhole measurement divided by 2. Then I'm going to connect the two lines together. So if your shoulder line is wider than 8 inches, I think you should come down with more inches, not the 10 inches. For the neckline, from my shoulder line, I'm going to be coming down by 7 inches for the depth of the neckline. So this depends on how deep you want your neckline to be. You can come down by any inches you want. For the width, I'm going to be taking 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect the 3 inches I just marked on the shoulder line to the depth of the neckline like this. So this is an outer neck dress, so I'm supposed to connect this straight to the depth of the neckline, the armhole measurement. But because of how the style of this, I'm going to be going out by 2.5 inches from the depth of my neckline. Then I'm going to connect the 2.5 inches directly to my armhole line, to the end of the armhole line. That is the 8 inches I came down by. Then I'm going to use my free hand to curve it like this. So if you don't want your fillet to be that big, from this your armhole line, you can mark your bust measurements divided by 4 and add like 4 or 5 inches allowance to it. It depends on what you want. So I'll be marking the length now. So I came down by 10 inches earlier. So this is the 10 inches. So I want the length of this part of my dress to be 30 inches. So I'm going to add the 30 inches to the 10 inches, which is 40 inches, because I want to take the measurements from the top round. So I'm going to place my tape at the top of the fabric like this. I'm not going to move it at the top, but I'm going to be moving the tape at the hem line. So the tape is at the top, then I'm marking 40 inches at the hem line of the fabric. So the 10 inches is not part of the measurement. The main measurement of this dress is 30 inches, but because I want to start taking the measurement from the top of the fabric, that is why I added 10 inches at the top, so the measurement will be accurate. So I'm marking the 30 inches, the 40 inches around the hem line. Then I'm going to connect all the dots together at the hem line. Then I'm going to cut off the excess part of this fabric. So I'm done with the front piece. I'm going to be using it to cut the back. The back is also folded into a funnel shape, but this one is splitted into two because I'm going to be splitting the back into two. So you can cut both the front and the back together and just split the back. So I arranged the front fabric on the back. So I shifted the center of the front from the center of the back a bit by half an inch. So I left the half an inch on the back fabric as the stitching allowance for the center, because the center of the back is splitted into two. So I followed the shape of the front to cut the back, and this is what I have for the front and back. I'll be using my fabric as the facing for both the neckline and the armhole area. So you can use a bias tape to pipe your neckline and your armhole. It depends on what you want. So my fabric is folded into two. Then I'm going to place the front on it like this. So because the front has a closed edge, the center of the front is closed, I'll make sure the center of this fabric I'm using is closed. And if it's not closed, add your stitching allowance to it so you'll be able to join it together. So I followed the shape and I cut it out, and I cut it out the size I want, and this is what I have for the neckline for the front. For the armhole for the front, I'm going to fold this fabric into two also, and I'm going to place the armhole on it and follow the shape and cut it. So I'm going to place the right side of the piece on the right side of my fabric. Then I'm going to sew it and turn it over to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing for the neckline for the front as well. So I went ahead to cut both the facing for the back, both the neckline and the armhole area. So I'm going to turn the neckline for the back together before I join the two centers together. So make sure you pipe your neckline before you join the centers. Then I'm going to pipe the armhole area as well. So I'm done turning the neckline and the armhole area of the back together, and I join the center. So this is what I have for the back. So I went ahead to join this rope that I'll be joining to this part of the fabric. So I've gone ahead to turn it. So the width of the rope is the size of the place I'm placing it to. When you mark it, you add your stitching allowance to it. You sew it and turn it over to the right side before you join it. But make sure the rope fits to that part, and you can make the rope as wide as you want it to, but make sure the part you are joining to this place should be the same width with that plate. So this is the front. I'm done turning the neckline and the armhole. This is what the front looks like. So I'll be using this piece of fabric to create a channel at this part of the front piece. So this is what is looking at like. I'm done turning the neckline, so I don't want to sew on the neckline that I just done. So I'm going to place the fabric like this on this part, on the right side of the fabric. Then I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side after sewing on the right side. Now I'm going to run a straight stitch there in order to create a channel. So I've done it on this other side of the fabric. Make sure you pipe the make sure you overlock the fabric around if you have an overlocker, and if you don't have one, make sure you hem the fabric around. I'm going to join the two sides of the fabric together, so the two right sides are facing each other. So I'm going to arrange them on each other properly, and I'm going to join it. I'm done joining the side of the fabric together, both sides of the fabric, and this is what is looking like. I've gone ahead to attach this rope to it, and I did the channel. So this is how I'm going to pass the rope through the channel. I'm going to take one side of the rope like this, then I'm going to pass it through the first channel of the front. You can choose whatever part you want it to pass through. Then I'm going to pass it through the other channel like this. Then I'm going to use the other rope to tie it at this other end like this. So you can style it whatever way you want to. So for me to know the how wide I'm going to cut the ruffles, the flare ruffles I'll be attaching to the hemline, I'm going to measure the hemline of the dress round like this. Whatever I have is what I'm going to be using to cut the flare at the hemline. So what I had round after measuring it was 119. So I'm going to be using that to cut the flare. So I'll be using these two nets to cut the ruffle. So I'm going to properly fold it into two like this. Then I'm going to fold it over again. That means it's folded into four. So I'm going to properly arrange it on each other. So I'm done with the arrangement. So I told you guys that my round hem line is 119. So you can see this fabric is not wide enough but is long. So if I decide to use it, I'm not going to get what I want. So I'm going to divide that 119 into 2. When I divide it into 2, then I'm going to have 59.5. Then I'm going to divide the 59.5 with the formula of cutting a single flare, which is 6.28. So I'm going to divide the 59.5 by 6.28. I'm going to have 9.47. So I'm going to approximate this, I'm going to approximate it to 9.5. So from the center of the fabric like this, I'm going to place my tape round, then I'm going to mark the 9.5. You can see that I am not moving the tape at the sharp edge like this. So the length of my flare is going to be 5.5. So I'm going to be marking the 5.5 round like this also. So I'm going to connect all the dots together and cut out the excess part. So I'm going to be using this flare to cut another flare that I'm going to join together to complete the 119 that I have at the hemline of my dress. So if you have a bigger fabric, whatever you have, if it's 119 you have as your final answer, or whatever you have, you are going to divide it by 6.28. So the 6.28, you are going to mark it round the sharp edge of your flare before you mark the length of the flare you want to take. So I'm going to open up the center of this flare like this to make it one. So I'm done cutting the other one as well, and I'm going to open up the center. Then I'm going to join the sides together. I'm going to join both of them together. After attaching it together, I'll go ahead and join it to the hemline of the dress. So I'm done attaching it to the hemline. So I opened the back a bit, the joining at the back, and I started joining the ruffle from the one side of the back to the other side of the back. Then I closed it up like this from the back. So I'm done with this, and this is what I have. So with this, we have come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. See